I'm Kristy Teskey. I'm the Executive Director of the John and Belk Endowment. Well, our founder, John and Belk, who was a business and civic leader in Charlotte, North Carolina, and across the state, really, he believed in education, equity in education, education as a key to workforce and livable wage jobs. And so he started an iteration of this endowment in the early 90s. And his daughter, upon his death, has taken this endowment and really wanted to focus on post-secondary education, underrepresented students, and making sure we have that connection to workforce. The John and Belk Endowment, we're working to transform post-secondary educational opportunities that meet North Carolina's workforce needs. So in that, we hope to build out educational pathways for all students that move people into livable wage jobs. People who have financial stability and sustainability in turn create a stronger economy. And so we see all of that work together, and we want to help address some of the barriers that are in front of our most underrepresented populations that they can move to and through that system. Well, in North Carolina, we've had over the last 20 years industry change. North Carolina is at a point where we really have to redefine ourselves as a state in our workforce and our industry. And with that, we need to change how we educate our students, regardless if they're young people coming up to and through, or if they're adults that need retraining and reskilling. So we see a lot of opportunity to help the systems that are in place to change how they do business, to address the non-traditional populations, the underrepresented populations, and make sure that there is accessibility for all that can move to and through post-secondary education toward completion into that livable wage job. Yet we are constantly asking ourselves, education for what? And we feel that as we ask ourselves that question, we can't just look at the educational pipeline or the educational systems. We have to look at the workforce needs, what the employers are saying, what the businesses are saying, both with the employment that we have here today and future work that will hopefully come to North Carolina. And we have to connect the two. Right now we see a lot of opportunity for interconnectivity, for education to address the needs of business, and for business to get more engaged in the educational pipeline. So when we think about post-secondary, we are thinking about the barriers to access, the barriers to completion into livable wage jobs. We want to make sure that we're thinking about the system as a whole. The research is very clear that post-secondary education is the key to getting people into livable wage jobs that create that financial independence. In the opportunities, we see both opportunities with high schoolers coming up to and through and adults that need to come back into the system to get retrained and reskilled. All with the idea of what are the business and employer needs on the back end. We cannot talk about education without also talking about workforce development and economic development. It all goes together. From a nonprofit perspective, being fairly new in this space over the last 2 years, when we think about access, completion, and workforce relevance, we have a few key partners. One of our main partners is our great community college system. We've worked both at the state level and also at individual community colleges, looking at leadership, marketing, how do we make sure that we have educational pathways that are targeted to specific industries within North Carolina, making sure we've cleared those pathways for people, creating support services around individuals that are trying to get to and through, and taking life out of the way so that people can concentrate on their education. If we can solve that and get more people to that completion state, then our state is going to be strong economically. We will have more people contributing both civically, engaged in the community building, and we're just going to be a strong state overall. So the Golden Leaf Foundation has really paved the way for organizations like the John and Belk Endowment in rural communities. North Carolina, when you get out of the 85-40 corridor, goes rural very quickly. 25 years ago, rural populations, you could have a high school diploma and go right into a job that was financially viable for someone's lifetime. We no longer have that opportunity. If we are looking at the research that shows in 2025, 67% of our population will need some form of post-secondary, or if we're looking at the economic mobility studies that show that North Carolina struggles with getting their bottom quartile population in poverty out of poverty, wherever you look, rural is key to all of those conversations. We have to find ways to help rural communities go to and through post-secondary so that we can attract the jobs and industries that we need and that they can access those livable wage jobs. We want rural communities to be viable again. Golden Leaf has set the stage for that. They have helped us understand that the conversation between education, workforce development, and economic development are not separated. They are all together, and together in those conversations, we're going to create a stronger North Carolina. We're going to do that in partnership. We can't do it alone. Golden Leaf can't do it alone. Our state government cannot pick up all of this. Private industry cannot come in and save the day. But if we all work together towards the same goals of moving people to and through to make sure that individuals have opportunities in livable wage jobs, to be financially independent, to be sustainable throughout their lifetime, and to help their children move up in the education system, it all goes together, and all of that creates a stronger North Carolina, and we need to do that in partnership. The rural communities are a great asset to North Carolina. We have from our western mountains to our eastern coast. What we've experienced over the last 20 and 25 years, we can get through. We can recreate and redefine, and we can make sure that those communities are viable again. We have to do that. We cannot survive on continually investing in the 8540 corridor and not paying attention, because they are all part of North Carolina, and it's what makes North Carolina special, what makes it strong as a state. Where we need to help is rebuilding out the infrastructure. We need to make sure that there is workforce opportunity that is either in those communities or close in a transportation pattern. We need to make sure that we have helped take barriers out of the way that in a previous history of different industry was not a barrier. But now that we're going into what they call the 21st century workforce, where technology has really redefined how people work, we have this opportunity to help all of the pipeline when we talk about cradle to career, making sure that there is support systems throughout and that rural communities have what they need to make sure their populations are educated and have pathways that move all the way into the livable wage jobs that can be and will be created. Golden Leaf has been a tremendous thought partner for us already. In the future, I see opportunity to combine resources, to do initiatives and efforts that bring about change in rural community in partnership with the communities. I believe both of our organizations believe that we do not have the answer. We are not the silver bullet, but what we are is a facilitator and can be a convener of conversation. Golden Leaf has taken the lead in that, and we're looking very forward in being a partner with them in finding the best ways to utilize the resources that our rural communities have. If it be the great community college systems we have across this state that are working with industry, if it be conversations around access for high schoolers to make sure that they are applying to college and that they're seeing the opportunity beyond high school. Golden Leaf looks at the rural communities holistically, which we greatly appreciate. We're looking at all of the communities across North Carolina with education top of mind, with workforce as part of that conversation. Golden Leaf has been a great thought partner for us. They have the ability to look at rural communities holistically. We are taking it from an educational standpoint of how do we help populations get to and through post-secondary, and making sure that it's connected with livable wage jobs on the back end. There is a lot of synergy in what Golden Leaf does and what we do at the John and Belk Endowment, that we feel that thought leadership, partnership, combining resources, there are so many possibilities. What we're most excited about is to have an organization like Golden Leaf that believes that we're not the answer. You know, we are part of the solution, but that solution has to come from the rural communities themselves. If that be the tremendous asset of our community college system, if that be from the workforce development boards that are there, industries that are in the rural communities, there's so many opportunities that when we are working to build out North Carolina and we think about the North Carolina of the future, that's not without rural. That's what makes North Carolina special. It's what makes North Carolina a beautiful place to live, work, and play. And we want to help build that alongside Golden Leaf Foundation. I love North Carolina. North Carolina is a state where you can climb mountains, you can go to the beach. We have amazing food across the board. You know, the southern roots of this state, of family, of community, that has not gone away. Just because industries have come and gone, and just because we're in this conversation of how we redefine North Carolina, what makes North Carolina special is at the core of all of that, and that hasn't changed. And that's what we hope to build on, and that's what I love about North Carolina.